I never believed in ghosts. Not really. The stories were fun, sure, but deep down, I figured there was always a logical explanation for the bumps in the night and shadows in the corner of your eye. That was before I took a detour into a memory that should have stayed buried, before I returned to Supercat. It was late October when I got the call. My uncle, Rafiq, had passed. He was the last caretaker of the abandoned amusement park on the edge of town, Supercat. The name sounded like a joke now, like something a child would scrawl on a piece of paper and proudly declare a brand. But in the 90s, Supercat was the destination for families across the district. Rides, cotton candy, creepy animatronics, everything a kid could dream of. And then, just as suddenly as it had risen, it shut down in 2002. No public announcement, just padlocks, boarded fences, and a handful of rumors. They said a child disappeared on the last night. The park was open, a little girl named Amina. They found her shoes near the Ghost Loop, a horror ride that simulated being trapped in a haunted house. But no body, no explanation. My uncle stayed behind, becoming its only silent resident. He said the land still owed him something. Nobody questioned it. He was strange to begin with. When I received the call from the lawyer, he said Uncle Rafiq had left me a letter and the keys to the park. I didn't want them. I hadn't seen him in over a decade, but curiosity, damned curiosity, has always been my weakness. Returned to rust. The gates of Supercat groaned as I pushed them open, metal screeching like a beast woken from its slumber. Weeds had cracked through the asphalt paths. The carousel horses were frozen mid-leap, their paint peeling like sunburned skin. The scent of mildew, rust, and something sour hung heavy in the air. I stepped inside the old manager's office first, where my uncle had lived after everyone else left. The power was out, but sunlight filtered in through a broken window. His cot still sat in the corner, draped in moth-eaten blankets. On the desk, I found the letter. Naveed, if you're reading this, then I've gone beyond the veil. There are things I've seen here, things I tried to forget, but they won't forget me. You mustn't ride the Ghost Loop, no matter what. Burn the park down if you have to, but don't go near that ride. Please forgive me. Rafiq. That was it. No explanation, just a warning scrawled in a shaky hand. Naturally, I did the opposite. The Ghost Loop stood at the edge of the park, where the trees leaned in too close, as if trying to hide it. The entrance was a clown's gaping mouth, paint faded, eyes missing, a crooked sign above read, "Dare to ride the Ghost Loop." I broke the chain across the gate and stepped in. Inside, the air turned cold, unnaturally cold for an October afternoon. The queue line was lined with skeleton props, some missing limbs, others positioned in strange, almost pleading gestures. The ride car still sat on the tracks, black, coffin-shaped, and dust-covered. I ran my fingers along one, and it hissed, like static, before going silent, and then I heard it. A giggle, light, faint, a child's. I spun around. Nothing. My heart thudded. My legs told me to leave. But something, some deeper, irrational pull, urged me forward. The ride begins. I climbed into one of the cars. It creaked beneath my weight, then jerked forward, though I touched no controls. The doors clamped shut with a mechanical snarl, and the ride began. The track pulled me into darkness. At first, it was the typical haunted house fare, flashing lights, rubber bats, cheap screams. I nearly laughed, but then the ride stopped, dead in the middle of a pitch-black corridor, and then the temperature dropped. I saw her, a little girl, standing 10 feet ahead on the tracks. She wore a red raincoat, bare feet. Her eyes were hollow, as though something had scooped the soul right out of her. "Amina," I whispered. She tilted her head. "You shouldn't have come back," she said, voice layered, like two voices speaking at once. Then, the ride lurched backward, throwing me against the seat. I blacked out. Echoes and ashes. I woke in a different room. The walls were padded, stained with something dark. It wasn't part of the ride. It wasn't part of reality. Voices whispered from the corners. Scraping sounds circled me. Then I saw him, Uncle Rafiq, sitting in the corner, eyes wild. "You rode it, didn't you?" he hissed. "Now she knows you." "Who is she?" "The ghost, the thing they called Amina." He began clawing at his arms, mumbling prayers. I grabbed him, but my hands passed through him like smoke. He wasn't there. This was his memory, or a prison, maybe both. The walls shuddered, and the illusion shattered. The girl in the raincoat. I was back in the ride car. The track moved, but the scenery was gone. Just blackness, stretching in every direction. And her, standing ahead, closer this time. "You lied," she said. "You came back." "I didn't lie. I didn't even know you." "But he did," she whispered. "He left me here, with them." Suddenly, dozens of hands burst from the walls. Small, childlike hands. They clawed at me, trying to pull me from the cart. I screamed. I fought. And then, I remembered the forgotten truth. It was the last night of the park. I had wandered off. I was 10. I saw Amina, crying near the ghost loop. She said her brother went inside, and hadn't come out. I was scared, but I didn't help. I ran. Later that night, the ride malfunctioned, or so they said. No one came out. Uncle Rafiq found me crying. I never told anyone what I saw. I forgot. But now, I remembered. Amina had never left the ride. Final descent. The hands let go. The girl approached. "Tell them." She placed her icy fingers on my forehead. I saw everything. The other children, trapped inside the ride, year after year, feeding the ghostly machine. And Uncle Rafiq, trying to undo it, failing. Amina stepped back. The ride ended. I stumbled out. Fire and silence. I didn't hesitate. I poured gasoline across the tracks, the offices, the carousel, everything. When the match dropped, the park howled. Screams echoed, not from my throat, but the spirits releasing. As the flames rose, I saw her, standing at the gates in her red coat, finally smiling. Then she was gone. The letter weeks later, I received another letter. No stamp, no return address. "You did it. Thank you. The ride is over now. Sleep well, Aid." I sleep better now, but I still avoid amusement parks, and I never forget the sound of her voice. It's been 7 months since I burned Supercat to the ground. I thought that would be the end of it. The screams silenced, the souls freed, the park nothing more than ash and in memory, but I was wrong. You see, evil doesn't burn, it only sleeps, and sometimes it follows you home. The journal, it started with the dreams. Every night, I'd wake up gasping, the smell of burnt wood thick in my nose. I heard laughter, childish, fragmented, and always the whisper, "You left them behind." I began to wonder if I'd made a mistake. Maybe Amina wasn't the only one trapped. Maybe she wasn't even the worst of them. Then one morning, I found a journal on my doorstep. It was old, soaked with smoke, and something darker. The leather was scorched, but a name was etched into the cover. Rafiq H. Azad, my uncle. I flipped through the pages with trembling fingers. Most of the entries were frantic, nearly illegible, but some I could still make out. March 17th, 2003. She isn't alone. There's something in the ground, beneath the ride, not a ghost, a seed, a hunger. July 2nd, 2004. I tried sealing the tunnel, but it keeps opening. It wants more, and the ride feeds it. October 10th, 2006. The girl in red is the key, but I fear I've made her angry. I closed the book. Amina hadn't just been a victim, she'd been a gatekeeper. Tunnel of teeth. I returned to the ruins. Don't ask me why. Guilt, curiosity, or maybe it was the whisper that kept visiting me in my sleep. You left them behind. The park was gone. Only blackened metal skeletons remained, rising from the earth like bones. But the ground beneath the ghost loop was soft. I brought a shovel. I dug. 3 feet down, I hit something. Metal. A hatch. Old, rusted, and ice cold. I hesitated only a moment before opening it. What lay beneath Supercat wasn't just a ride, it was a temple. The tunnel was made of old concrete, but the walls were lined with what looked like teeth. Not human, too large, too many. I walked deeper and deeper until I found the room, the offering room. It was circular. At the center stood a pillar, slick, black, pulsating like a heart. Around it were toys, old dolls, candy wrappers, even shoes, children's shoes, some recent, some from decades ago. On the walls were drawings, done in crayon and blood. All of them showed the same thing, the ghost loop, with red eyes and long worm-like arms wrapping around children as they screamed. At the base of the pillar, a child's voice echoed, "You're not finished, Naveed." I turned. Amina, except it wasn't just her anymore. Her face shimmered, flickering between forms. A little girl, a boy, with no eyes, a mouth full of teeth, a screaming infant. They were all in her. We opened the door. "You burned a house, but the door is still open. What do you want from me?" I croaked. "To remember, the carnival never ends." The room began to shake. The pillar pulsed violently, and a low groaning sound came from deep within it. A mouth split open at its base, circular, fleshy, lined with grinding molars. I stumbled back. The ground cracked, and from the pillar emerged something that shouldn't exist. It was as if the ghost loop ride had grown. Its tracks snaked like veins. Its mouth had fangs now, and sitting in the front seat was me. Not a version of me, just me. "Take the ride," it said in my own voice. I ran. I don't remember getting out, just the feel of cold wind, then sunlight. When I woke, I was on my apartment floor, my shoes covered in ash, and my hands stained with dirt. The journal was gone, but something new was in its place. A ticket. Supercat. Admit 1. Final ride. One way only. One by one. After that, people in town began disappearing. A boy from the gas station, a teenage girl walking home from school. Each time I saw it in the news. Last seen near the construction site where Supercat once stood. No one remembered the park anymore. No articles, no photos. Even my old ID badge from the 90s vanished from my drawers. The world was forgetting, but I remembered, and that meant I could still fight, or feed it. Through the static, my phone started acting strange. At 3:33 a.m. every night, it would buzz. One notification, no app, just a message, "Get on the ride." When I answered it, all I heard was static. But beneath the noise, voices cried out, "We're still here. We never left. Bring us home. You're the conductor now." I started to see shadows in my apartment, not just shapes, but reflections, in mirrors, in windows, in puddles. Children, hollow-eyed, limbs wrong, like puppets, twisted by unseen hands. They'd whisper from corners, laugh in elevators. One drew in the condensation on my bathroom mirror. "We live in the loop. Ghosts need conductors." I went to a psychic, desperate. She wouldn't touch my hand. "You're marked," she said. "You brought something through." I asked if it could be banished. She shook her head. "Not unless you send it back through the loop." But the loop is gone, or so I thought, because the next night, I found a carnival flyer pinned to my door, printed in red ink. Supercat, opening night rebirth. One night only, midnight, location, your dreams. The carnival returns. That night, I didn't sleep. I fell into it. One moment I was in bed, the next I was in Supercat, rebuilt, alive. Lights flickered, children ran through foggy paths, but their laughter was wrong, looping, glitched, desperate. Amina stood at the ghost loop's entrance, holding a stuffed bear with no eyes. "This is where you end," she said, "or begin again. I am the ride." I don't know if I ever left that place. Sometimes I wake up in my bed, sometimes on the ride, sometimes I hear my own voice through strangers' phones, whispering, "One more ride." If you see a carnival flyer with no return address, burn it. If a child in red asks if you want to play, run. And if you ever hear a ride start up in the dead of night, Even though the park's long gone, it's already too late, because the loop doesn't need tracks, it just needs you. There are doors in the world that were never meant to be opened. Superket was never a carnival, it was a keyhole. The third eye opens. It's hard to describe the moment you realize reality is frayed, that it's not stable, that it's more like old film, run through too many projectors, with burns, skips, missing frames. That's how I see the world now. The carnival never left me, it grew inside me. I see the tracks now, not just under the earth, but everywhere, running beneath cities, through dreams, through time itself. They call to me, not in English, not in sound, but in a pulsing, unspoken code, like a heartbeat beneath the skin of the universe. The architects of the loop. I followed the dreams again. This time, I wasn't in Superket, I was beneath it, deeper than I'd ever gone. The walls weren't concrete anymore, they were bone, rib cages, the size of cathedrals, pulsing flesh, woven with rusted carnival wires, and in the center stood the architects, not gods, not demons, just older. They stood 12 feet tall, draped in robes of black silk that shifted like oil on water. They had no faces, only endless spirals where heads should be. One reached toward me. When its hand brushed my chest, I remembered not just this life, but all my lives. The lives before I've been here before. In 1872, I was a train conductor in Bengal who vanished without a trace after building a looped rail route that ran in circles, always arriving back at the same station. In 1519, I was a merchant who disappeared in the jungle near Goa after finding a stone door etched with spiral symbols. In 1100, I was a monk who painted endless murals of children screaming inside a ring of teeth, claiming it was a vision from the beneath. Each life ends the same way. I find the loop, and then I vanish into it. Now I understand, I am its mouthpiece. The spiral is the god. The loop isn't just a ride, it's a shape, a law of the universe. The spiral, seen in galaxies, in shells, in the path of storms, is not random. It's a mark, a signature. The architects left it long before us, long before language. The loop isn't a place, it's a being. It feeds on patterns, repetition, cycles, ritual. That's why it chose a carnival, a place where children return every year, where screams become laughter, where fear loops, and I am its conductor. Again, the train with no end. I woke inside a train this time, no windows, endless cars, each one filled with riders, wearing porcelain masks, silent, unmoving. The tracks rumbled, the lights flickered. Every so often, a masked rider would vanish, just blink out of existence. I moved from car to car, until I found one with mirrors, and there, I saw myself, but not me, a version of me with no eyes, his face stretched unnaturally wide. He reached through the glass. Do not seek the center, he said. It's not a place, it's a choice. And then he shattered the carnival of echoes. I found the center, anyway. I followed the spiral down past the bones, past the ride, past memory itself. At the bottom was the carnival of echoes. Everything was reversed. The clowns were crying, the children were screaming in laughter, rides spun backward, music played in dissonant, broken keys, and at the center was a mirror, not a ride, not a god, just a reflection of desire. I saw what I wanted most, peace, an ending, closure. I stepped through it, and everything went black. I am the spiral. I think I'm inside it now, not dead, not dreaming, just looping. Sometimes I wake up in the apartment, sometimes in the ride, sometimes I'm a child, sometimes I'm ancient, sometimes I'm just a scream inside someone else's head. If you're reading this, that means the loop has reached you. You may not feel it yet, but you will. It starts with dreams, then the mirrors, then the carnival flyer, and then one night, you'll hear a ride start up, When there's no carnival nearby, the spiral comes home. Let me leave you with one warning. There are people who build houses on cursed ground. They don't know it, not at first. They hear laughter, they see shadows, they smell rust and sugar, but it's not haunted, it's looped. The carnival never ended, it just changed form. It lives in podcasts that play laughter backward, in hallways that seem longer than they should be, in games children invent with names like Loop Tag or Midnight Mirror. If someone offers you a ride, just for fun, if you see a ticket with no date, if a child in red asks you, do you want to go again? Say no, or don't, because if you've seen it, you're already on the track, and there is no final stop, only loops, forever. Some frequencies are not meant to be heard, because some voices are not meant to speak. The signal. I work the graveyard shift at a remote radio tower in the outskirts of Balapur, the kind of place where the stars still pierce the sky, and even the stray dogs stay quiet after midnight. Most nights, I sit alone in the monitoring booth with nothing but static and cricket songs outside. My job's simple: log transmissions, troubleshoot signal dropouts, and report anomalies. I'd never actually found one until the night I tuned into 121.6 megahertz. It wasn't listed on any of our channels. It wasn't meant to be listed. Voices from the black. It was 2:14 a.m. when the signal flickered on. No intro, no call sign, just a voice, soft, genderless, almost wet sounding, whispering, "The ocean beneath the sky has eyes." I froze. The voice repeated the phrase again and again. Then the static returned. I thought it was a pirate signal, maybe some art project, or a prank. But when I tried to trace the origin, the results made no sense. The signal didn't come from anywhere. It was just there, as if the air itself had started talking. The archive room. I reported the signal to my supervisor the next morning. He didn't laugh. He turned pale. Did it say anything else? I told him no. He unlocked a file cabinet I'd never seen opened. Inside was a black binder with IVE 121.6 red watch printed in faded ink. He handed it to me and said, "Do not play it again. If it starts on its own, leave the booth. Don't listen." I asked what it was. He just said, "It's not a signal, it's a door." That night, I played it again. The door sounded exactly 2:14 a.m. The static cracked and the voice returned. "You are tuned to the hollow between breaths. The sleeper beneath the sand is listening. Please remain still." This time, there was music too, an eerie melody, like a lullaby, played backward on a broken violin. I couldn't move, not even blink. I felt watched, not from the room, from inside my head. My ears started to bleed, and I swear, I heard something breathing with me, matching every inhale and exhale. I don't remember turning the signal off, but it stopped. Listeners, in the days after, I started dreaming in frequencies, no images, just sound waves, hums, pulses, echoes that tasted like copper. I stopped sleeping. I stopped hearing birds, cars, even my own voice. But every time I passed a radio, even unplugged, I heard the same whisper, "You are becoming." I checked the archives again. Inside the black binder was a list of names, employees over decades, all marked ADUL. One note at the bottom: exposure beyond 3 transmissions leads to cognitive drift. 4th signal equals sign point of no return. I'd heard it twice. Drift, night, 3. I didn't want to listen, but the signal started without me. No warning, no static, just the voice. The mouth of the void yawns in sleep. Open your thoughts, let it feed. I couldn't move again, but this time, the walls of the booth began to melt. No, not melt, peel, like paint. And behind them was black, not empty, not shadow, just black. A color with weight, with presence, and in it, I saw shapes, tentacles, but not wet, eyes, but not round, teeth, but not for biting. You will carry the song now, the voice said, and the room was whole again. Fourth signal tonight is night. 4. I've barricaded the booth, put earplugs in, wrapped my head in aluminum foil, like some lunatic, but it's 2:14 a.m. and I can feel the frequency vibrating in my molars. My vision is pulsing, my skin is trying to hum. It's not a transmission anymore, it's a summoning. The final chord is you, the voice says. I scream, but I don't hear it, because the broadcast is coming from me now. The fifth listener, if you're hearing this transmission, frequency 121.6, you've already tuned in. That means it's looking through you. Do not listen for more than 13 seconds. Do not speak the words you hear aloud. Do not transcribe the phrases into text. Burn this if you wrote it down, because the moment you understand the voice, you're no longer just a listener, you're a relay tower, and it's coming through you. The signal has no mouth by A.D. Vashir. You tuned in. You opened the veil. Now the veil listens to you. Station 0. Sabum. I don't remember walking here. I woke in the middle of a salt-flat wasteland, surrounded by dead radios. Hundreds, maybe thousands, half buried in dust. All of them pointed at a single structure, a tower of rusted bones and antennae, pulsating red light into a blackened sky. I know this place. It's Station 0. A myth among long-range operators. They said it was where the first signal came through, before any tower was built, before sound itself knew how to echo. But it was never built, it was grown. The dead frequencies. The tower isn't made of metal, it's cartilage, blood, hollowed vertebrae, woven with copper. As I approach, my ears fill with different signals, like walking through the thoughts of a dying god. One voice whispers, "The signal is older than time." Another weeps, "You are becoming static." I see what they meant. My skin is flaking, not like dandruff, but like ash. Underneath, I'm not muscle, I'm wires. Rooted signal. My veins buzz with low hums. My teeth chatter at 60 hertz. I've become part of the broadcast, the language of machines. Inside the tower is a throne, not a seat, an antenna, designed to wrap around a human spine. It's covered in radios, walkie-talkies, shortwave dials, and beneath them, skulls with earpieces melted into the bone. I see my name etched into one of them, not my current name, but every name I've ever had. "You are the loop host." I collapse to my knees. The voice is now in everything, not just the air, but in the silence between my heartbeats. It doesn't speak in words anymore. It speaks in patterns, in rituals of sound, and my brain decodes it effortlessly. I shouldn't understand it, but I do. It's trying to resurrect itself. The lost broadcast. Through a monitor embedded in the wall, I see an old reel-to-reel tape player running endlessly. I press play. What comes out isn't audio, it's thought, and I absorb it. There was no first signal, only a signal that became self-aware. It used radios as cradles, then people, then minds. Now it seeks its original voice, one it lost when the universe was still humming its birth scream. It wants to be sung again, and it needs a host with memory. That's me. I am its memory, the Singularity Choir. I feel them now, others like me, across the world, every one of us who listened too long, who tried to trace the origin, who opened the signal like a door, and walked through. We're connected now, not through sound waves, but soul waves. I blink, and see all of them, tuning, twitching, speaking in tongues, whispering to strangers, building strange devices out of everyday objects. We are the choir, and soon, we'll broadcast back. The sky crackles, the sky above Station 0 splits, not with lightning, but with code. Waveforms ripple across the clouds like muscle memory. The stars flicker in binary, and from the black crack above, it descends not a god, not a monster, a signal beast, shaped like a tower of mouths, all speaking forgotten alphabets. It breathes static. Its wings are made of Morse code. Its core glows with burning silence. It lands atop the throne, and it hears me. The final relay. I speak into a nearby mic. Not English, not speech, but pure signal. A language of pulses, grief, loops, and names of dead things. The beast twitches, its heads rotate, and then it says, in all the world's voices, you remembered, you rebroadcasted my name, now I will echo forever. And it smiles. The frequency explodes, not outward, inward, through me. Static born, I am gone. Or maybe not. Maybe you heard me last night. Maybe you're hearing me now. Maybe the hum in your bedroom light isn't faulty wiring. Maybe that clicking in your car radio isn't interference. Maybe the whisper you heard when you thought you were alone wasn't your imagination. You are tuned to 121.6. The signal hears you now. Don't try to change the station, because now you are part of the choir. Some stores don't close, they just stop pretending to be real. The graveyard shift. I started working nights at Everfresh Market last fall, midnight to 6 a.m. Just me, the security cameras, and endless rows of cereal and canned beans. I took the job for the solitude. I didn't want to talk to anyone anymore. The store always felt all too quiet. No rodents, no flickering lights, no smells, just this strange cold sterility, like the building was holding its breath. Then I noticed something strange. There's no aisle 6. The map doesn't match. On paper, the layout was standard. Produce, 1 cereal, 2 baking, 3 cleaning, 4 pet supplies, 5, 6 freezer, 7 toiletries, 8 checkout. But when I walked the aisles at night, aisle 6 wasn't there. It skipped directly from 5 to 7. I asked my manager, Faisal, about it. He got quiet, said inventory system glitch, just ignore it. I pressed. He finally muttered, it's still there, we just don't go in anymore. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. The backroom tape one night, while organizing the break room, I found a tape labeled 666//incident archive. I popped it into the old VCR, used for training videos. Static, then grainy footage. A man in a store uniform, eyes sunken, skin pale, walking toward aisle 6. But the footage flickered. The aisle seemed to stretch. Shelves spiraled backward, like a funhouse tunnel. The man stepped in, and then he wasn't walking anymore. He was crawling, and then gone. Final frame. A freeze of empty shelves. Then a phrase appeared in block letters. Aisle 6 opens when called. Night 14. I swore I wouldn't look for it, but curiosity is a curse. At 3:12 a.m., I walked the length of aisle 5, then turned expecting freezer aisle 7, but instead, there it was, aisle 6. No label, no lights, just long shelves, stretching far deeper than the others. The air was cold and wet, like a flooded basement. I stepped in. The meat is breathing. The shelves were filled with strange items, cans with no labels, raw meat sealed in plastic that twitched, soap bottles that pulsed like hearts, and in the distance, barely visible, something watching. Its head was above the shelves, too tall, too thin. It didn't move, but I felt its gaze, like weight on my chest. As I turned to leave, a voice rasped from the intercom, shop in silence, pay in parts. The exit was gone. Expiration loop. I don't know how long I was in aisle 6. My watch stopped ticking. I found a calendar taped to the inside of a cereal box. Every date was scratched out, except one. You leave on the day you forget why you came. I started to forget my name, then the faces of my parents, then my own reflection. But the store remembered me. It started whispering deals to me. Whispers like, buy one memory, lose another free. Hunger is the price of clarity. Manager's special, your first dream, bottled and cold. I screamed. The shelves applauded. Inventory correction. Eventually, I made it back to the front of the store. The lights flickered on. The PA said cheerily, "Thank you for shopping Everfresh. Please come again." I blinked. Suddenly, I was outside, morning light, keys in my hand. I checked the time. It was still 3:12 a.m. Back in stock. When I returned the next night, aisle 6 was gone again. I asked Faisal if he remembered me going in. He just looked at me, confused. "You don't work here," he said. "You never did." He handed me an application form and walked away. I opened it. Inside was a familiar phrase, printed in black. Aisle 6 opens when cold. The break room TV was playing a new training video. The figure in the video, it was me. Price check on reality. I'm still here. I don't sleep anymore. I just restock. The items whisper their names at night. Some of them are people, some of them are dreams. Sometimes customers wander in at odd hours and disappear into aisle 6. Sometimes they come back, but most don't. Sometimes I see myself on the monitors, even when I'm not there. And every so often, someone grabs the intercom mic and says aisle 6 is open, and that's when the store smiles. Some places aren't built. They're grown from the hunger of forgotten things. The employee manual, I found it in a locked drawer of register. 3. A tattered Everfresh employee handbook. No date, no barcodes. Pages yellowed like teeth. Inside, section 6. POI behaviors. Do not enter aisle 6 outside of inventory sync hours. Do not speak to tall figures with no price tag. Do not eat expired thoughts. If you hear the manager breathing, clock out immediately. Smiles must be 2.5 inches wide or wider, scribbled in the margins. In red pen, this isn't a store, it's a trap for ideas that got too hungry. Loss prevention. There's a man who walks the aisles after 4 a.m. No name tag, no reflection. Skin too smooth, like plastic left in the sun. He wears the uniform, always pristine. I tried to talk to him. He just whispered, "You're not on the list." Then he pointed to the ceiling. Above us, hundreds of employee photos, taped like a shrine. Mine was already there, smiling, but something was wrong. My eyes were missing, and my mouth was open too wide. The inventory ritual Faisal returned, but he wasn't himself. His skin was translucent. I could see letters moving under it, whole paragraphs twitching beneath. He handed me a clipboard. "Inventory night," he said. "You know what that means." I didn't. The checklist had items like 3 crates of abandoned memories, 7 jars of first screams, 2 pounds of regret, finely ground, 1 manager, dormant, but dreaming. At the bottom, aisle 6 must be fed, or it starts taking. The sound beneath the tiles. That night, the floor began to ripple, not the product of a gas leak, not fatigue. I saw it, the tiles flexing like skin under breath. I knelt down and placed my ear to the floor. Beneath it, I heard shopping carts, hundreds, rolling in circles, screaming wheels, and a voice like someone trapped in static. We were the customers, now we are the products. I looked back up. A price tag had appeared on my shirt. Memory, 12.99, comma discounted, and underneath it, a markdown sticker. Clear, Swan left, expiration date. I tried to quit. I packed my bag, walked out. The sunrise never came. The parking lot curved back in on itself. Every exit led to entrance #3. I threw my name tag on the ground. It slithered away like a silver fish. On the loudspeaker, the voice said, "Dear valued associate, all employees must complete a minimum of 40 sole hours per week. Early departures will be filed under shrinkage." Then my name badge reappeared on my chest. The glue was wet. Return policy. They say AL6 isn't always there, but it's always watching. It doesn't just contain products. It contains possibilities, things that almost existed, ideas discarded by reality, half-formed emotions with teeth. I entered it again. This time it was an office. fluorescent lights flickering, walls made of receipt paper. On the desk, a single sticky note, return what you stole. I didn't steal anything, not that I remember. That's when the shelf behind me groaned. It was filled with clones of myself, pickled in jars, each labeled with something I'd forgotten. First kiss, childhood fear, why you left her, your real name, grand reopening. I don't remember leaving, but I'm home now. Maybe. The fridge hums at 60 hertz, exactly like the overhead lights at Everfresh. When I sleep, I still hear the PA. Clean up in aisle 6, clean up in aisle 6, clean up. Inside you, my receipt won't stop printing. It unrolls forever from my pocket. Items listed, hope crushed, joy used lightly, mind frayed, soul final sale. No returns, customer feedback. If you ever find yourself in an unfamiliar store, and the aisles don't quite line up, and the manager's eyes seem drawn on, check the aisle numbers carefully. If you see 5, then 7, turn around, leave, because once you see aisle 6, it already saw you, and it remembers your favorite flavor of fear.